All right. Kevin Dooms, the man of 100 hustles here at Uber Airport Parking in South Houston. I would like today to report that today's smells are cigarette smoke, exhaust fumes, and shame. And mostly exhaust fumes and shame. Um, just outside of the airport parking area is one of the more entertaining Badlands of Houston, or Little Baghdad's as I like to call them. It's one of those areas where even other black people kind of give me that you ain't from around here look. And this is the kind of place where you could buy a loose cigarette, a bag of chicharrones, or even a mystery lady. And by a mystery lady, I mean what was the mystery of her gender at birth, the mystery of how many STIs is she incubating, the mystery of is she gonna stab me when I offer her money to not talk to me. And what are chicharrones, you say? They are fire ass Mexican pork rinds. The high end fine dining waiter in me wants to turn my nose up and be like, "You pork rinds," but my inner 44 Acres Homes hood rat knows them better as pork rinds, cracklins, pig skins, and yeah, real Southerners, I think they call them pork cracklins. You can usually pick them up in the country market. But the cool thing about chicharrones is they are usually fried right in front of you. If not, they were fried not too far away from wherever you bought them. Here in Uber parking, I kind of love it, especially at IHA. Here is a little bit smaller at the Hobby Airport because it's a smaller Southwest Airlines. But even here, you get to hear all kinds of languages, and I love languages. I don't speak formal Spanish. I know I always talk about speaking Spanish. I actually speak what we call Texican here. It's a weird, rudimentary Swahili type Spanish that's used for basic communication. And if you were trying to communicate with somebody who is not Mexican, they would look at you funny a lot of times. It's literally like two of the worst accents that people make fun of combined, Mexican and Texas. And because I speak Texican, there are a lot of times where I would only speak Spanish to brown Mexicans. And that was because they were the only people who took the time to help me how to enunciate correctly, to teach me the purpose of the verbal inflections and tonality when I'm speaking Spanish. And so it kind of got to where I only got comfortable talking to brown Mexicans in Spanish. And otherwise, I just would tell you I don't speak Spanish. And because I'm American, nobody questions it. But that's neither here nor there. The point of this accidentally racist moment is my first trip to Cafe Du Monde in New Orleans. I will never forget this. I was on an Outback trip because everybody was running away from a hurricane that missed New Orleans. Not Katrina, but it was a year later, so that Katrina fear was still there. And it was faster to ship staff from Houston to New Orleans than to get their staff back to New Orleans. So I got like my first trip to New Orleans was all expenses paid on Outback's corporate dime. And that's where I got this wonderful accidentally racist moment. Now, mind you, I'm at Cafe Du Monde, where in New Orleans, where they barely speak English. I never found myself having people repeat themselves or having to repeat myself so often as my first time in New Orleans on a Sunday morning trying to get beignets. But that's neither here nor there. I understand y'all do speak an English dialect, that people make fun of Texans as well. We're just slightly more understandable. And I'll never forget because I had a Korean waitress who had obviously learned English in New Orleans, so she had a Cajun accent. So we're sitting down there with powdered sugar beignets, tasting like diabetes, and I noticed a Korean gentleman walk up. And I can hear that he had learned English in Scotland. I had straight up hit the racist Yahtzee in one roll. I had a Korean dude with a Scottish accent and a Korean lady with a Cajun English accent struggling to communicate to each other. And mind you, the friends that I was with that day, 20 years later, this is a shared experience that we will never forget. Because you get kind of as long as it's not hatefully or maliciously racist, you get an accidental racism pass in Louisiana, period. Especially New Orleans. You get a pass on everything. That's like, well, I was about to say Vegas without the gambling, but you can gamble there too. I gotta go to Harrah's every time I go off a canal. Um, but this story literally happened 20 years ago, and I will never forget that shared experience with the friends that I had it with. And as an American black man cursed with this voice, who speaks broken, horrible Mexican Spanish slang, in a horrid Texas accent, I can't help but look back at that moment, watching this Korean man who struggled to learn English in Scotland, or watching him struggle to communicate with a Korean woman who had learned English in New Orleans. And 20 years later, I'm just now wondering, they both clearly acknowledged that they were both Korean, but they were struggling to communicate and chose not to speak Korean. I don't know. I never got picked on for being the smart kid, but this is Kevin Dooms, a man of 100 hustles, just out here being accidentally racist.